Hello, and welcome to another video. We're going to be going ahead and going over gear and stats for PvP. So let me preface this by, you shouldn't worry about mods and enhancements and armorings and all that until you're 306 and until you're getting set pieces you really want to min-max. I'm a big believer in min-maxing and making sure that you have the best possible gear so you can do your role in PvP as well as you can. So let's go ahead and look into some gear. So as you can see here, I have one amplified piece, and then I have 6 piece of Meteor Brawler for my AP Power Tech. It's the same gear set for Pyrotech as well. I have just a regular generator, and then I use two specific relics. I have my tactical, and then I have my implants and my earpiece. So let's go ahead and go through this. Let's look at my stats to begin with. So as you can see, my mastery is 12,871, almost 13k. That's nice and high. So you really want to have decent mastery so that you hit harder. Endurance, that's just a flat amount. We don't worry about that. And then power, this is where a lot of the min-maxing comes, is trying to increase your power as well as your mastery. So you can see my power is 10k with 241, almost 10.3. That's really good. In my opinion, it took a lot of min-maxing, a lot of gambling with my Spoils of War vendor. My critical is at 3440, which is a good round number. My alacrity is specifically at 1215, and my accuracy is a little low for most classes, but it is 104.17%, as you can see down here. Obviously, presence, defense, absorb, and shield don't matter, as I am a DPS power tech. So let's go ahead and start off with these stats. So mastery, super important. It does damage, but you don't want to stack it necessarily until you're done with your power, crit, alacrity, and accuracy. Crit, power makes you hit harder and is just fun to min-max for. That's the best thing you can min-max for with enhancements and mods. And then critical. So the reason why I only put my critical to 3400, as you see here, is because it has a diminishing return in SWTOR. So what I mean by diminishing return is the higher you go past 3400, 3500, it gives you less and less of the stat per point. You're better suited to put your points elsewhere, like doing some mastery augments or something like that, which is why my mastery is so much higher. Alacrity has very specific breakpoints. That's why mine is specifically 1215. For the majority of classes, the cutoff for 1.4 global cooldown, or GCD, is 1213. So to get down to 1215, I try to get as close to the alacrity breakpoint as possible so I get more stats into power and crit and accuracy, as well as I melee. So every extra point of alacrity gives me absolutely nothing, because I'm not doing any cast time abilities or channeled abilities. Accuracy is hit or miss. It is very dependent on the type of damage your class does. So for example, Advanced Prototype does yellow damage, and yellow damage is denoted by specific types of damage, tech or force. Also a few others, but mostly tech and force. So when you're attacking with a tech or force attack, it's considered a yellow attack. It shows up on a yellow bar or yellow numbers when you use the ability. This does not use accuracy. A white attack is a weapon attack. Like for me, Rail Shot is a white attack. It does weapon damage. So I need accuracy for Rail Shot to hit. So a good rule of thumb for classes that need to hit with only a few white abilities is about 105%. Now, for classes that have a lot of weapon damage, like Carnage Marauders or Arsenal Mercs or marksman snipers, things like that, you want to have really close to 110% accuracy, maybe 108, so that you can really maximize your damage there. If you are playing a telekinetic, if you're playing a sorcerer or a concealment operative, for example, all of your damage is yellow, so you need no accuracy in PvP. The main difference in PvE and PvP is how you allocate accuracy points and stack power and mastery. I'm not going to go into PvE, but it is much different. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into some of the best in slot items. As you can see, my earpiece and implants are all SWTOR Adept. So you want to get SWTOR abilities. And now the reason why you want to do this is because the SWTOR, as you can see here, has a very low endurance. The only reason it has 1151 is because I'm getting 144 endurance from the augment. So it has a base endurance of 1007. So you might think, well, I'm in PvP, why don't I want endurance? And that's because if you think about it, even if you stacked endurance, you'd be hurting your damage output by a lot. And even if you stacked endurance, you would still only survive health-wise by another global cooldown or two for someone to get a good hitting ability off. So in my opinion, that's not worth it. I would rather kill my opponent before they kill me. And this is what most people agree on. So I am using SWTOR Adepts, so those are the crit ones. You obviously don't have to do that. This is just the way I allocated my stats. All my alacrity and accuracy are actually in enhancements in my gear. So you will be using SWTOR Initiative and SWTOR, I can't remember the name of the alacrity one, but it's different. But definitely SWTORs are the ones you want to keep. Those are the important ones. These are the super important relics that I stack. SWTOR Relic of Serendipitous Assault and SWTOR Relic of Focused Retribution. Now, the reason why I use these relics is because they're really easy. There's no pressing attack. They're procs, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry so much about pressing a button at a certain time. So it says equip healing an ally or damaging an enemy has a 30% chance to grant almost 3k power for 6 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 20 seconds. The other relic does the same thing, just for mastery. And then we'll go into the actual mods and enhancements now. So I do a 6-piece and an amplified, and I will talk about that after we do amplifiers. But let's go into my helmet. So this is the armoring you want. You want an 80 R1 or an 80, the Superior Versatile Armoring 80. The reason why you want that is because it has the least amount of endurance and the highest amount of mastery. Each piece of gear, each mod, enhancement, and armoring have specific set stat pools. So every point that is put into endurance takes away from a DPS stat. That is why we go for lower stats, lower endurance. That's how I gauge if a gear is worth it. Here, this is a Lethal Superior Mod R1. This is one of the best mods in the game. There are 2 best in slot mods, an R1 and an R2. They are both 313 endurance, because that is the lowest you can get on a mod. And then it is a little bit lower mastery, but very high power, 361 power. Let's see if I have a 359 right here in my gloves. Here it is. This is an R2. It's 359. Some consider this to be tiny bit better because it has 1 stat point allocation more. But I go with R1s through R3s as my absolute best. But I keep everything 80 to R8. So everything 80 to R8 is what I keep for alts and things like that. So let's go ahead and go back over here. We look at my alacrity. It's an R19. It's a nimble superior enhancement. Now you want, for alacrity, you want nimble because it has the lowest endurance. 285 endurance is the lowest for enhancement. And then the power is very high on the higher R settings. So R19s and stuff like that. But it lowers your alacrity because, like I said, the stat pools are the same. So you just use this to fiddle. So I only needed 12, 13. So I tried to min-max as much as I could to get close to it. And I could put more points into power by lowering my alacrity. Here, I have a very high alacriity one and it has very low power because I was shooting for that specific alacrity breakpoint. And then we go through here, alacrity. Then we want to use initiative, superior. We want to use initiative enhancements. Again, they are the lowest endurance. And we want to use adept enhancements. Again, those are the lowest endurance. Your crystals can be power or crit. It depends on how you do your stats. I highly recommend auging every single piece of gear. Again, I would do the math to see where you need to get for that 3400 critical and get your alacrity set up and your accuracy set up. And then everything else you can put into these versatile augs to give you a little more mastery and power. Also, another important thing in the game that is very, very expensive, is rolling amplifiers. As you can see, I have the gold tech wizardry. Increases the damage dealt by tech attacks. It's a flat increase. You can put these on armorings, which means it can go into the 7 slots of my armor and my offhand, and then you can also put it on barrels, and it's on my barrel. So I have a total of 9% increase to my tech damage attacks because of this. And then the key to the amplified champion headgear, the only reason you use amplified is because it's the only piece of gear that you can actually roll the amplifier to get a helpful DPS stat. See, this is the highest tech wizardry I can get on an amplified piece. That's why you do 6-piece set and 1 amplified. There's a lot of trickier things. Lightning Sorks, because they have an innate alacriity buff, they can go for 1.3 global cooldown and cast things a lot faster. And by going for 1895 alacrity, that breakpoint, you don't want to really pay attention to percentages. You want to pay attention to hard numbers you can find online, because most guilds have a perk. If we go here to guild, I have the Zeal set bonus, increases alacrity by 5%. So I have a flat increase of 5%, but that bonus goes away when I go into PvP. So I would definitely do the research and see what kind of gear sets you want. Like I said, I use Meteor Brawler and 1 amplified. I do all my amplifiers, even though it costs way too many credits. I augment all my gear. I get very specific relics. I get very specific earpieces and implants, specific mods and enhancements and armorings. And that's how I'm able to boost my stats to this level and get the highest DPS potential I can from my class. Every class can be min-maxed. It's not super, super important, but it definitely helps when you get to higher levels of gameplay. I'll just go over quickly how to go ahead and gear. So obviously tech frags are a really important way. The only way. And getting boxes. So I just go ahead and check every armoring and make sure there's nothing I can pull out that's something that's really helpful. I will do this preference thing. So if you go to user interface and scroll down to tooltips, say show detailed item tooltips and enable comparative tooltips. The reason why I do this is it makes it so when I hover over the gear, as you can see, it says armoring mod enhancement. But instead of just saying armoring mod enhancement and augment, it tells me the stats that are put into that piece of gear. So it's a lot easier to figure out what's in there, what's going on. The next thing I want to show you about gearing is just going over here and just going over the supply vendors real quick. I mentioned tech frags when I was going through the best in slot kind of gear mods and enhancements. But you come over here on fleet, it's on the opposite side for Republic. First I'll go over to the actual vendor for your classes. So I'm a bounty hunter, so I'm going to go over here to bounty hunter. Most best in slot gear sets for bounty hunters right now can be purchased off of this vendor. See Meteor Brawlers right here. It's 3k tech frags and 1 million credits. So you basically just slowly work your way up until you buy 6 pieces of that and then get 1 amplified piece, which drops from boxes. I also recommend getting your best in slot tactical first. Before you buy any pieces of gear, spend your first 3k tech frags on your best in slot tactical, which for me as an AP power tech is power load. Now, what we'll do is we'll go over here and I'll go over gambling. So gambling is nice and fun. First, we'll check out Kaizyken. Everybody should know about Kaizyken. But he has certain random gear that he sells. Some of it is operation specific and stuff like that. So it's good to check him, but he sells it at a discounted price of 1,500 tech fags. So it's half, which is really handy when you're still trying to gear, or if you find a piece of a very rare set like Apex Predator or something like that. Now let's go to gambling. Go to the Spoils of War vendor, and then we come down here and we get a random unidentified mod. So obviously, when you buy from the Spoils of War vendor, you are getting the gear 304 or 306, but most of the time when you get it from the Spoils of War vendor, when you're 306, it'll be 306. So what I do to get these best in slot mods, and I guess I'll just do a little test round gamble, is I have almost 8k tech frags, and this is after you get all your gear. This is how after you get all the items you need. And I'm going to be like, okay, I need better mods. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open my inventory and I'm just going to buy a bunch of unidentified mods. So there, I bought 20 of them. Now I go through here. AR9, no good. BR16, no good. BR17, no good. BR10, no good. No good. R11, no good. AR3, no good. And the reason why these are no good is because they're high endurance, as you can see when I'm scrolling over them. R8 is 344 power, which is good when you're starting out. I don't need those right now. R7, also good. 347 power, 313 endurance, 380 mastery. Good mod for when you're starting out and on your path to getting better gear. BR, no good. Here I got an R2. This is one of the best in slots. I got an R2. And it's completely random. I was lucky enough to get an R2, which is 369 mastery, 313 endurance, and 359 power. AR17, BR16, BR15, AR7. Yep. And I was lucky enough to get an R1, which is one of the best in slot ones as well. I got very lucky. But as you can see, I bought 20 mods, and I got 2 of the best ones. And I'm going to go ahead and deconstruct the ones I don't need. Get some tech frags back and an ember. And you see I spent 2,500 tech frags just going to get those mods, and I only got 2 really good ones. Sometimes you'll spend 10k tech frags and not get anything good. And that's just how it is. Unfortunately, that's how they have the game set up right now. And there's not really much else you can do about it. So that's how you gamble for the best in slot stuff. Once you get your gear set up. Thank you for coming all the way through this longer video. I'm sorry it was so long, but gear is very important and it is very hard to get through. There are not many guides about it. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If you're coming from my guild, which is the Eternal Order, I am always active on the Discord. You can ask me questions there. This is how I gear. This is how a lot of high tier PvPers gear and raiders gear this way as well. I hope this helps you. I didn't see a guide out there. I wanted to make it for my guild and also for everybody else that may be wondering how to properly gear for PvP so they could crush skulls and have fun. Thank you for sitting through this entire video, and as always, I will see you next time.